It's Gary! What's up, bro?
Shenanigans. Silly or high-spirited behavior. Mischief. Tomfoolery. Rogueries.
Oh my God, Gary!
Used in a sentence. I'm still pretty beat after all of the shenanigans of the long weekend.
Okay, so we're over at Chris's house. Got Gary and Chris here.
My channel is called G from BC, and I'm from BC, Canada. It's a Mountie radio.
Doesn't work on where in the US.
Yeah, it's made out of poutine and ketchup chips.
It's a poutine radio, of course. Yeah. 3 Jeeps heading out, hitting the road. I think we're gonna have awesome conditions. It's gonna be dry. Might be a little windy on the Halvard Desert, but we'll see what we see. Let's hit it. Close the garage door, God! Hurry up and close it!
So the three of us set off for the Overland Expo event in Bend, where I had 2 films in the film fest. We gave ourselves 3 days to cross Central Oregon the hard way. Our first stop was the Halvard Desert, where we'd add Shy and Christina from Out and Back Oregon to our convoy before trekking across the rest of Central Oregon.
So we just hit the Ion Highway, which runs between Idaho, Oregon, and Nevada, hence the Ion Highway. And I just gotta say, it is so beautiful out here. We take this all the time when we're adventuring out in the Owyhees or going out into Central Oregon, which is what we're doing now. I don't remember a time that's ever been this pretty. It's just like perfect outside. We've got blue sky with beautiful clouds, green fields, breeze blowing, and it just makes me so excited. This is like the perfect start to this adventure. So let's go.
One thing you have to be really careful about out here is gas. There's just not very much of it anywhere. So when we hit Rome Station, we decided to fill up our tanks, grab supplies, and of course, start messing with each other.
If you put 37s on, you get better gas mileage. Is that true?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't follow Will the whole time.
Hey, Chris. Hey, where'd you go? Where? Oh, hey, there you are, man. Hey, Will. Hey. This is Gary. It's G from BC, living the cooler life right here.
Representing those cooler people.
Hey, dude, it's cool to be cooler. So Chris is gonna throw pistachio into my mouth. Oh. Why do I keep doing this? Can I have some of your pistachios? Mm-hmm.
After Rome, we had some trouble getting to dirt on our way to Halvard. This area is pocked by private land, which makes access to the massive public areas difficult in some places. But after a few reroutes, we were finally able to find a good entry point to hit dirt.
Okay, so we have made it to dirt, finally. We had a road that I thought was gonna work, which was on private property, even though just like a sliver of it was on private property, which really annoys me because like 99.9% of that land is public, just where the gate is private. So we had to take a detour of about 10, 12 miles around to find this entrance. And this one is all public, it's all BLM, baby. We're gonna go explore. I have no idea what to expect, but I do know that we're gonna be traveling over this ridge of foothills and dropping down into some more sagebrush, ocean type terrain until we make our way into the Halvard Desert. So I cannot wait to see what this road holds.
The trail was just how I like it. Rough, but not extreme. More on the forgotten side than the well-trodden side. Now, I've been to Halvard many times, but have never taken this route in. Finding these lesser-known routes into spectacular places is one of the things I love the most about overlanding. Now, at this point, we were still quite a ways out from the desert playa and meeting up with Shy from Out and Back Oregon, but we were all so full of enthusiasm and energy, we really thought we'd be there in no time, even though we really had no idea how long it would take to get there. So, we kept our convoy tight as we wound our way through these small canyons and pointed our bumpers northwest.
We're deep in the sagebrush now, and we saw some wildlife out there, some pronghorn, I think, out there. We kept our distance because we didn't want to stress them out too much. We're running a little bit behind schedule to meet up with Out and Back Oregon on the playa, but we're doing our best. We'll get there as soon as we can. Now we're on a trail that is very interesting. It's taking us around, I would say, the long way, and it's a much less used road, but you know, makes it for an interesting drive, that's for sure.
We were now deep in the eastern Oregon sagebrush ocean. As beautiful as it is, it can swallow you up and be disorienting. At this point, we weren't sure if the roads we were on would continue to take us towards the desert playa because we were dealing with dodging pockets of private land, which put us even further behind schedule. This part of Oregon feels so desolate and lonely it's hard to imagine anyone or anything could survive out here. But the truth is, these lands were the home of Western legends. In the 1880s, when Idaho and Oregon became the eastern frontier for the gold rush, huge cattle and sheep ranches took over tens of thousands of acres, with cowboys and buckaroos creating modern-day fiefdoms, and the rule of the land was done as much by gunshot as it was by law. Names like Peter French and Hugh Glenn are still seen in these parts because they were such dominating and controversial figures at the time. This land and the livestock that grazed upon it was so important that it spawned wars between the Native Americans and the homesteaders, wars between the cattle and the sheep ranches, and eventually wars between the ranchers and the federal government's regulation of grazing. This legacy of open range lands and the fierce independence of private property still exists today, which is one reason we were happy to steer clear of them, even if it made for a much longer drive. After a bit, we had Steens Mountain in our sights. It took some more reroutes and rougher roads, but we made it to our rendezvous point with Shai and Christina and started our final approach to the Halvard Desert.
Woo, it's been a long day of driving, but we're almost done. We're following Shai from Out and Back Oregon. He's leading us into the playa from here. It'll be fun, I can't wait to get there. And of course, we will get the prerequisite epic shots driving on the playa, but like, I'm just looking forward to being done for today and getting some rest and sitting around, getting some shade, cooling off, and having a good time with the guys. So we finally made it to Halvard Desert, and this place is like, it's like a sensory deprivation chamber. It's like there's carpet laid out for 8 miles by 15 miles. The sounds are quieter here. You feel things a little bit differently out here, and it's all dominated by the Steens Mountain, which is in the background here. And so we're hoping to get a nice view of the sunset on Steens tonight, and then in the morning watch that sun hit it and light it up. So I think we're just gonna set up camp, hope that the wind's not too bad tonight, and start cooking dinner and see what we had to drink.
It was about 90 degrees in the Halvard Desert this evening, so shade was a must. My Big Country 4x4 Ostrich Junior awning from Rugged Bound Supply deploys so fast, I had extra time to go get to know the folks in our convoy a bit better.
So so Shai, what's your YouTube channel?
So Out and Back Oregon is my channel.
And what do you do?
We just generally go exploring all over Oregon, and we hike, we kayak, we camp, a little bit of everything.
What are you doing, Chris?
Awesome, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Just say awesome no matter what.
Excited to
I
be
didn't
here.
say how are you doing. I
Awesome.
said what are you doing? I'm doing awesome.
Awesome.
There's something about being on the trail together that brings you closer to your travel mates. And it took us no time at all to start laughing, joking, and giving each other a hard time about anything we could think of.
Turn your camera off. Enjoy nature.
But as we settled in, so too did the enormity of our surroundings. And before dinner, we took some time to appreciate where we were. The Halvard Desert is an ancient lake bed that sits in one of the most remote places in the country. It's a desert because it sits in a massive triple rain shadow created by the Coast Range, the Cascade Mountains, and most notably, Steens Mountain. It's a place you come to when you want to feel awe. The flat surface of the playa deceives your senses and confuses your ability to tell direction and distance. There's almost nothing at all alive here, so it feels like a big empty room. It's mesmerizing. And then there's Steens. Rising to almost 10,000 feet, this gigantic fault block mountain is the stuff of movies. It's majestic and rugged and peaceful and terrifying, all at the same time. We were lucky enough to catch this place on a calm evening with an incredible sky. But as the sun set, we started thinking about what was next.
It's time for dinner, but we've been like putting off cooking because we've been having a good time hanging out and just chatting and eating Chris's amazing veggie tray. We're having some of these. And I don't mean vegetables.
Good times.
Good times.
But vegetables are good times.
No. But it's time for dinner. So I'm gonna be making Gary, I'm gonna make a stir-fry dish. Vegetables and chicken stir-fried in the same pot. Chris and I are gonna eat it. It's gonna be good. Let's go do it. Oh my God, Gary! This is all going.
So Gary, what are you making for dinner tonight?
Actually making steak. We're in the desert. You gotta stay hydrated, so it's gonna be H2O.
All right.
Making water for dinner?
Yeah.
What is that, like a family recipe?
Yeah.
What's for dinner, Mom? Water.
Water. Hell yeah.
I regularly turn wine into water. It's usually the next day.
Cut up some chicken, cut up some...
It even says Out and Back Organized. You have like a whole cooking line of stuff?
I'm actually kind of
You're kind of a big deal.
So, and I hear that Out and Back Oregon is going to eat a hot dog. I'm just kidding, Zoe. We probably won't eat you unless we have to. Did you marinate the chicken?
No, I have spices for the chicken, and I have some really fancy stir-fry sauce that will cover all my mistakes.
So we all had our own recipes, and they looked really, really good. Fresh food always tastes better on the trail. And as we settled in for a long, dark night in the desert, my mind kept wandering on what tomorrow would hold. I had convinced the group to drive up and over Steens tomorrow, and I was really hoping I hadn't made a big mistake. And that question kept haunting me throughout the rest of the trip, and even now. As an early riser, I often find myself being the first one up at camp, which means I need to make the coffee. However, it also means there are times like this, where I got the entire 86 square miles of desert to myself, which gave me time to think about the route I had chosen and whether or not the roads ahead actually existed. Before long, the clouds passed, the sky cleared, and I was thinking about the big day that lay ahead of us.
Well, the sun has finally come out. It's getting super hot out here, and we are packing up and getting ready to go. The plan for today is to take the easy road out of Halvard Desert, and then we're all gonna try something new. There's a road to the north of Halvard that goes through a draw and up and over the top of Steens that we're gonna try to go find, and then work our way down to French Glen where we can gas up, and then hit some dirt roads and wind up tonight at the Heart Mountain Hot Springs, I think is our plan. So it doesn't mean that that's actually what's gonna happen, but that's what we're starting with. So let's see what happens. So we're driving across the playa right now to get to the road that we're gonna take up and over Steens. And driving across this thing is crazy. It's almost like boating. There's no roads, there's no speed limit, there's no like directions. It's actually hard to drive in a straight line, as weird as that sounds. But it's a lot of fun when you're in a group. However, you have to be careful. There have been a couple times, even with this group of experienced drivers, where we've gotten a little too close to each other because, again, it's actually hard to drive in a straight line if you don't have something that you're driving towards like we're used to, or lines on a road like we're used to in the ordinary world. But ton of fun, and we're trying not to rip it up too much, but it's hard to resist just pedal to the metal.
On our way to the route, we were sandwiched between the desert playa on one side and Steens Mountain on the other. I was having doubts about everything. Would the road be accessible? Would it be drivable? Was this a wild goose chase? And lucky for me, when we got there, it all turned out great. I should say it all turned out great until we got to the top. We came upon roads that still make me second guess our choices. They were clearly forgotten. And while I have to believe we were treading lightly, the question still lingers in my mind.
So we're on the top of the Steens Range now. We climbed up this really beautiful road to get up here. Now we're on these roads where we're trying to shuck and jive between private land that's up here. And so this is a really good example of a road that looks really good on paper, but when you get out there is totally unknown. So it's clear that no one has driven on these roads in years. There's still definitely roads. It's kind of great as long as we're not doing damage, which we're not because we're actually on a road. It's kind of fun to find these completely forgotten routes that take you someplace that maybe you wouldn't have gone. So we have just made our way back onto some more kind of maintained roads. It feels good to be going faster than 5 miles an hour. So now we're gonna make our way hopefully down to French Glen. If we don't run out of gas, I think I've got about 50 miles left on my tank. Everybody else is about the same. And we still got a ways to go, but I think we'll be okay. So we're just kind of coasting down the hill, get the French Glen, gas up, maybe get some lunch.
With 50 miles of gas and 40 miles of road, we were glad that French Glen was mostly downhill and didn't mind a little pavement.
Okay, well, we made it to Diamond, which is about 30 miles from French Glen. We hit pavement, so we're gonna air up. We're gonna drive into French Glen, get more gas, maybe get some supplies, and try to make it to the Heart Mountain hot springs tonight. Okay, we just gassed up in French Glen, had a quick bite to eat for lunch. Here's a cool thing though. We're at French Glen and somebody from the BDR crew was there. He's out working on the Oregon BDR route right now, and I was such a fanboy. I was like, I know you, you're a BDR guy. Anyway, had a cool conversation. Just so cool who you run into at places like French Glen, Oregon, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. You run into like-minded folks that you're sharing the same passion, and from him, you know, we're learning from him all the time and using the tools they create with the BDR crew. So that was really, really cool. All right, on to Heart Mountain.
So we were off through the 50-mile Catlow Valley, which was originally inhabited by Native Americans over 12,000 years ago. And although it was settled by Pete French, it was actually named after John Catlow, a rancher who gave the Shirk brothers their start before building a large ranch in these parts, which they abandoned after a bloody run-in with the French crew. You can still visit the old Shirk ranch today, but we had miles to put in, and after the Halvard moon dust, we're feeling a bit dusty.
My dash. This Jeep has so much dust in it. It just gets in, you can't really get it out. What I'm gonna do is, when we get to camp, I'm gonna get out my wet wipes. I'm gonna wipe down the interior and just try to get some of this dust off the seats, off the dash, and hopefully I can breathe a little bit easier for the next few days.
This road is one of the best I've ever driven. An excellent option if you're trying to make up time. This is where having good tires and a capable suspension really pay off, as we were flying in the straightaways. This route takes you right through the Heart Mountain Antelope Refuge, where you can see herds of antelope roaming on the range. With Beatty's Butte watching over us from across Rattlesnake Draw, we made our way to the Antelope Refuge Center before heading to camp.
When you're coming through this part of Oregon, there's the Antelope National Refuge Center. And what they have here is potable water. And the nice thing about this is if you've been at the Halvard Desert, you can like rinse yourself off. You can like rinse all the Halvard moon dust off of you, fill up your water, and it's like ice cold. It feels so, so good on a hot day like this. So remember that there's potable water here at the Refuge Center. It is a really, really nice thing.
The good news is the hot springs are only 6 miles from the Refuge Center. The bad news is that a hot springs on a hot day is not a good combo. So instead, Chris and I set up our awnings to get a little shade. Chris had just purchased an OVS 270, and as this was its inaugural use, I wanted to check in to see if he liked it so far.
But yeah, I looked at a lot of awnings, and you know, I really like yours. The only problem is I don't have a way to mount it. And then there's others that used to be called freestanding and they're not anymore. So I called OVS, talked to them, and they said yeah. So and they basically said don't be an idiot. If it gets windy, then put the poles down, use the guidelines and all that. So far I'm enjoying it. I enjoy it much more now.
There he goes.
The campground was just okay, but everyone seemed to be in good spirits despite the loud crickets and the heat.
Enjoying it, step 2.
What's the step 2?
Step 2, your booze of choice. Today it's a cider, a hard cider, I might add, from Avid Cider Company. Blackberry currant apple, delicious.
Cha-ching! It's been a long day for Gary, so he's taking a nap.
Yeah,
Found some shade, taking a nap.
this old guy needs a nap time.
All right, man, have a good nap.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're at camp tonight, and we're all set up. We had dinner. We're just sitting around the campfire right now, telling stories and having fun. I can't wait to see what else Oregon has to offer before we get to the expo. But for tonight, I'm gonna hang out with my friends, maybe have a whiskey, and call it a night.
The next morning, we were raring to go. I woke up, made coffee, and immediately started packing.
We're packing up camp and getting ready to head out. The plan for today is to try to make it all the way to Bend. So, hey, what do you think? You think we can make it to Bend?
Yeah, we're gonna make it to Bend today.
For sure?
For sure.
Like, do you think we'll have time to stop and like drive through the sand dunes and stuff too?
Absolutely.
I love your optimism. I love your optimism, man.
It's gonna be awesome.
I feel like it's an aggressive day. We got a long way to go and a lot to see. So I'm hopeful that there are like no hiccups. Of course, now that I said that out loud, there's probably gonna be a million hiccups, but we'll see when we go.
Let's go.
Let's go? What did you say? You said let's go?
Let's get into it.
Ah! That's my catchphrase!
We hit the road early, but needed to make a quick stop back at the Refuge for something.
Wait a minute. Is that your rug?
Yeah, we left it here when we filled up with water, and my wife was really mad at me.
Well, hey, now you're back in our good graces. Thank you, Oregon, for not taking Shai's rug.
With Shai and Christina's rug secured, we made our way down Heart Mountain, named after the heart-shaped brand used by an early father and son ranching outfit at the base of the mountain in Warren Valley, a 60-mile-long stretch of open land where we were headed. The road drops you down over 1,000 feet to the valley below, where the Warner Lakes used to be a wetlands area, but dried up in 2015. Now you just see the echoes of what once was.
So we dropped down into this basin that has all these ancient lake beds, and from above you can see the shapes of the lake beds and the colors. And from down here, you really wouldn't know that you're in the middle of this thing. You just don't see it the same way down here. So it's really cool to kind of see it from above when you drop down into it off of Heart Mountain. This group, we came to our senses and thought maybe we could shave off a little bit of time, get on the highway, get into Christmas Valley, and then hit the sand dunes. Kind of go check those out. So on we go through the basin, headed to Bend.
The highway saved us a ton of time, which was good because I needed to stop for critical supplies.
So we're stopping at the Sagewood Grocery because I forgot to bring cocktails.
What are you thinking? What's the matter with you?
Back on dirt, we beeline for the sand dunes, which I was super excited to get to drive since I've never done it.
Okay, so here we are at the sand dunes. I forgot that in Oregon, you need to have a permit and a red flag in order to drive on the sand dunes. So we made it all the way here, but unfortunately, you're not gonna get any shots of us driving.
Shy apparently did not forget his red flag and his permit.
What do you think of the dune so far, Gary?
It's doing very good.
All right, I gotta go figure out what I broke.
Whew, well, this has been fun. So we're gonna get back in the rigs and keep making our way to Bend.
At this point, we're about 100 miles from Bend, which doesn't sound like much, but the roads we were now on were primitive and slow going with lava rocks keeping us wary of going too fast for fear of tearing sidewalls. We pushed pace where we could, but kept hitting these slow, dusty patches with junipers and cows keeping us company. Time was our biggest obstacle at the moment, so we pushed on even though we were starting to get tired and weary of breathing dust and seeing sagebrush after sagebrush.
Okay, I am tired. Been driving for 9 hours. We still have a bit to go before we get to our campsite tonight. Probably still a good 45 minutes, maybe, or so from camp. I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to turning the keys, getting out of the car, doing something different besides driving. This is like such a nice campsite to have at the end of a long day. So what a great way to have our last night before Expo on such a classic river in Oregon. So we're gonna set up camp, we're gonna start cooking dinner, and we are going to unwind.
Unwinding was easy in a place like this. Even though we'd driven so many roads and seen so many things in only 3 days, it felt like we were just getting started. And when I went to bed that night, my mind stopped thinking about routes and landmarks and started to think about what Overland Expo would be like since I'd never been. And I was super nervous about showing my 2 films to real people.
This is a master at work.
You can't do that. I've got the camera on you. Don't put the camera on me, I've got the camera on you. Our focus of this morning is to pack up and get out of here. We are anxious to get over to Overland Expo to try to get there early to beat the lines. It's gonna be hard to say goodbye to this place, but it's time to go.
On the way to the expo grounds, we stopped to spray off the rigs, just to get some of the dust off. When we got there, we were greeted by friendly volunteers, a million other rigs, and very tight camping quarters. Being there was awesome. I got to see all of my favorite rigs, including one I am very, very interested in. More on that subject later. Plus, I got to see some of my creator friends I've never met in person, attend a live stream with some awesome channels, and then take a much needed break after a long day on my feet. As the evening set in, it was time to make our way back to the pavilion for the film festival, and I was blown away by the support I received, and then I was asked to come on stage for a Q&A after.
Hey, Will. How about that Overland anthem? That was awesome. Can you tell us the backstory on that?
We spend so much time on Facebook, like criticizing everyone and their gear and what's overlanding, what's not overlanding. And I just wanted to make something that said, you know what, like we can just love this thing. And so I just got an itch one night in bed. And I started writing the script, and I was like, you know what? This is for you. This is for us. Like, we're a community. We're gonna do this. And then I just kind of spiraled out of control and became a video. Yeah. I don't know how I did, but it was so cool to see people watch my videos because I've never actually seen anyone else watch it.
I know how they did. I know how you did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
You did awesome.
Hey, that's my boy. It's my boy.
This trip was supposed to be about overlanding from Boise to Bend, seeing incredible remote places, and getting to the expo in time for my film premieres. But it turned out to be less about places and things, and more about people. I came back changed, not because I had the solace and solitude of nature. It was because I made friends on this trip, like real deal friends, ride or die friends, the kind that my kids might mistake for an uncle or aunt, the kind that stay with you and add to your life. These kinds of trips are rare. and I'll forever be grateful to have had this one.